I'm trying something new where I'm going to be looking at units that I feel are not being played, but I feel have some form of potential in the game. The idea is that I want to try to brew with units that no one else seems to be experimenting with. I will try to put that unit in a deck where I feel like it can shine. It doesn't have to be the center of the deck, so I don't really want to build around it specifically. The point is to try to show the unit's strength while at the same time not hindering the deck it goes into. This will be my opinion on if I think it should be played. And then at the end of the video, I will share my thoughts on my experience playing around with the deck. And then I will give it a grade out of 3. Getting a grade 3 means that I think it is very worth playing, and it should be put in a lot more decks than it currently is. A grade 2 means I think the unit should be continued to be experimented with. I do believe that some form of mastering it is required to play it and for its potential to be seen more. A grade 1 means that it is a very niche unit. It can still be played, but I feel like it has a more specific situation it is needed for. Depending on how the meta changes, grade 1 and grade 2 will have a little more flexibility. Now, if I give it a grade 0, the unit will have to be your waifu or like husbando to even be like touched, because I would not have been able to find a single reason or single use of why you should play the unit. Now, to start off the series, I wanted to play around with Yaksha. Now, Yaksha has been in the origins of Cardfight Vanguard since the very first Kagero trial deck. Now, his ability is that if he is in your hand and you retire an opponent's rearguard during the main phase, that's very important, then you can superior ride him. And that's it. He doesn't have any power gain. He doesn't have any retiring on himself. He is, at that point, just a 9k vanilla. So this is the deck I decided to try to bring out his potential with. The goal of it is to try to get him to superior ride, so that then we can start dealing early damage with the 9 crits I'm deciding to play. I decided to try to go with 9 crit because after losing the 50 card with it, I saw the potential in it. And since we are superior riding, that means we have a second drive check in our turn. So the idea here was that you'd be able to deal some really early game pressure. And then follow up with Waterfall. For one, Waterfall swings for very big numbers, so we can take advantage of the crits in the deck. And that means we can now use Yaksha as fodder for Waterfall, since he is just a vanilla turn 3 forward. When I was building the deck, I was thinking of main phase retiring in mind. This means that really good units, such as Heat Nail Salamander, cannot be used because he is a battle phase retiring. I also didn't want to hinder the deck by playing Gatling Claw, since he can very easily become a 4k vanilla, and Conroe is just so much better. The only way this deck can retire on turn 2 is with Berserk Dragon, which you were already probably going to play 4 copies of him anyway, because he is such a flexible unit. He has the ability that on place you counterblast 2 and retire one of your opponent's rearguards. This is very nice because he can retire grade 2s, 1s, and 0s, which means as long as your opponent has a unit out and you have 2 counterblasts to use, you will be able to get him off and Yaksha. Then as a form of backup retiring, I am playing Kimnara. Kimnara is both flexible and restricted. He does only counterblast 1. You do have to get rid of him, and he can only retire grade 1s. So he has a little bit more of a niche requirement, meaning your opponent needs to have a grade 1 out for him to go off if he's going to be able to trigger Yaksha. Besides that, the rest of the deck is very much just a good stuff Kagero deck. The only thing here that's a little bit different from my Waterfall deck is I'm playing Gojo. I'm playing him so if I don't think I'm going to be able to use Yaksha, I can get rid of him. And if I don't have Yaksha in my hand, but I think I will be able to get Berserk Dragon or Kimnara off, then I can go search for him. Going second will make it so Yaksha has a better chance of going off, because that means your opponent will more likely have placed another grade 2 out in order to try to deal you 2 damage, meaning that Berserk Dragon will be able to pop off, and then Yaksha will be able to superior ride. Something to keep in mind is the main phase retiring, which means you cannot ride Berserk Dragon popping a unit because Berserk Dragon triggers on place, which means if you ride him, you are retiring during your ride phase, which means Yaksha will not go off. This means that you need to have a second grade 2 in hand for him to go off. I learned this the hard way. I was thinking that you could do some cool combos where you ride Berserk, pop a unit, Superior Ride Yaksha, call Bellicosity, get your counterblast back, start recouping the resources that you're using. But no, you can't do that. You have to ride a unit that you're okay not using, because as soon as Yaksha gets over them, then their ability is not going to be used. So, moving on to my thoughts about Yaksha. Comparing him to older Superior Ride units, like my boy Joe or Aleph, Yaksha is more flexible. You don't have to play the 9 specific units to get the Superior Ride off that are basically vanillas. And like I said, you're always going to be wanting to play Berserk Dragon. You already have units that are already going to want to synergize with him. He is far less consistent. I played a lot of the Blazing Core Superior Ride engine. I feel like I was able to get that off about half the time. Now, Yaksha, even though I felt like he had a very easy to get off ability, there was only one time in the 20 plus games I played with this deck where Yaksha was going to be able to trigger, and it didn't go off because I rode Berserk Dragon, which doesn't make sense because why does it matter? Why does it matter if you retire during your ride phase? It doesn't like plus you anymore. I don't know. It's not like Yaksha's that good. He's a 9k vanilla once you get him. I don't know. As you can probably tell in my frustration, I was not happy with how the deck turned out. 100% of games I've won, and I won quite a few. I got on a 10-game win streak with this deck. Waterfall did all the work. There were many times where I'd have like Yaksha in my hand, and I'd rather have like Vanquisher. Vanquisher at least can attack for 12. I really wanted the deck to work. I really wanted to start the series off with I was thinking, when this was first happening, I was trying to struggle. I was thinking, okay, it's not consistent, but at least it goes off and it can have a niche. So I was going to like give it a grade 1. Even though it feels like it's a grade 1, just like on paper, in execution, it's a grade 0. I can't go above that. It never went off. I could never get it to go off. It shouldn't be this hard to work a Superior Ride that doesn't have an ability once it's on the board. I'm sorry, Yaksha. You deserved better than what I could give you. Have you got to play with Yaksha? Did you find maybe some way of getting him to go off more consistently? Let me know if there's any units that you'd like me to talk about in this series. I'd love to try to experiment. It doesn't have to be just rares and commons. It can be a double rare or even like a triple rare that just no one seems to play around with. The new set's about to come out, so I'll try to start working on some content for that. Yeah, I never know how to end these. That's all I got.